So, hello, good people of the internet. We meet again here. My name is Paul, and here with me is Johnny Walker Dread. Well, we are on his channel, so he will be taking charge, like today.
Hey everybody, I'm Johnny Walker Dread. I think New Skeptic is the only one in so far, but we're recording this, so this is for prosperity. I'm
5
Johnny
years.
Walker Dread, and I have about 400 videos now, and almost all of it is on Kyle Rittenhouse and Dominick Black, and some of it on Chrystul Kizer as well. But if anybody watched my channel, they would swear I'm from Kenosha. He has to be from Kenosha. Nobody could possibly take this much interest in all these cases out of Kenosha, but that's the way it worked. But no, I'm from Oklahoma, and I really have had a lot of fun creating the videos, but it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work.
Yeah, I feel, yeah. So, we have, like few hellos. So, Muskeptic, hey, and Curbside Nation, hello.
Curbside Nation. What's that mean? I don't know. What do you think that means? Is that like a curb job?
Maybe.
I don't know if you know what a curb job is. When you put somebody on the curb and you smack their face against it. The Dickies had a song called Curb Job. That's one of my favorites. But anyway, I'm digressing here. At any rate, I wanted to talk about two people in general here. I've talked about Kyle Rittenhouse to death, and I'm still going to put out a lot of stuff on his show, but we've had a lot of discussion about Kyle, and his case is over. There was some discussion about Binger possibly going after him on the gun charge. And as you may have seen the show on Tim Pool, Andrew Branca, who have had a little bit of a war with, he basically said that that's not going to happen. And he knows. I mean, he's been around this for a long time. And he says that there's really no chance that Binger is going to be able to go after Kyle on anything at this point. So Kyle looks to be in the clear as far as state charges go. So that leaves us with Dominick. And then, of course, we have Chrystul Kizer's case coming up here pretty soon. I think it'll be in the spring. And boy, if you want to talk about something that's going to generate some hostility,
yeah,
people say, "Oh, Chrystul Kizer, who is she?" You wait. When they get wind of this, it's going to be severe. But at any rate, Dominick Black is coming up here. He has a court date set for January. And at that point, we're going to probably find, and I'm saying probably, I mean pretty much 100% or 99% certain that Judge Schroeder will A, throw out the gun charge for the same reason as he did for Kyle Rittenhouse, and B, Binger will appeal. Now, this is interesting because during the trial, if you remember, Judge Schroeder turned down the gun charge, threw it out at the very last moment, which didn't give Binger any chance to really, do anything about it. I mean, he couldn't appeal or anything. And so he can't do much against Kyle, but he's got one dude left that he can lash out at, and that's Dominick.
Yep.
And I don't know if you saw my video where I went and played the testimony from the his interrogation of Dominick Black. Well, I shouldn't call it an interrogation because it's his own witness. And at one point, he asked Dominick, "Did Kyle point his rifle at anyone?" And Dominick said, "I don't know." And you could look at the look on Binger's face, and he's like, "Wait." You can hear him almost thinking, "That's not what I was expecting here." No. I thought, and this is conjecture from this point on, but I thought we had a deal. That when I ask you this, you're going to say there was this one instance. Yes, there was, because that's why he wants Dominick on the stand. Everybody's saying, "Oh, he's going after Dominick because he wants to get old Kyle on the whole transfer of the rifle." He doesn't care about that. He needs to nail Kyle for murder. And how Kyle obtained the rifle is almost no bearing on that. But he figured that Dominick would be a great way to open up his case by showing to the jury, you see, he's out there threatening people with his rifle. And that would have been perfect way to set the stage for the rest of the testimony. And instead, Dominick goes, no, I don't remember doing that. And Binger, he was like, really? And he asked the question again. He's just like, oh, come on, man. That's not what we had agreed to. So Binger thinks that Dominick basically betrayed him.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the reason why he is so rabidly going after Dominick now. And he is. I mean, there's no doubt about that. If people are saying, well, now he's going to drop the charges against Dominick. No, he's not. He's not going to. So.
Yeah, and he has a history of this, as you pointed out in another of your videos, with the truck driver that had the pistol, like in his truck, where Binger not only that he went after him in the first place, but he was, like incredibly petty, like a child, literally, where he was dismissing the charges and he didn't tell the lawyer until he flew from Florida, right?
Georgia, yeah, he's out of Atlanta.
Georgia. Okay.
And,
yeah,
and that's just the way he is. He's really petty, and again, keep in mind, I don't think Binger believes that he can win the appeal. For one, he's a terrible writer. Oh my God! And I have videos where I have gone through his motions. I've read them out loud, and you read these and you think, did some high school kid write this at the last moment to get a C? To at least pass the course. It's that bad. So I don't think he thinks he can win the appeal. But here's his thing. If he can put this thing through the appeals process, and it takes about a year to get through that, at least, Dominick has to stay on bail. And so Dominick can't join the military. He can't get a lot of jobs. He's under investigation for a felony.
Right.
Plus, he has to abide all the bail conditions. So he can't, whatever conditions they are, I don't know what they are. They might be like not drinking, although everybody thought that was standard. It's not. Again, people, they always go by their gut feel, and then they try to make it sound very factual. But I don't know if drinking is an issue, but he can't he can't carry firearms, which means he's unprotected. There's a lot of things that go into that. And if he moves, he has to notify the court. So I think Binger is just trying to make his life as miserable as he can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not to mention that he will be definitely banking on the fact that Dominick needs a lot of money.
Yes.
Even to basically go through the steps. Like the law. That's a lot of paperwork that lawyers need to do. That takes a lot of man hours, and lawyers are quite expensive. So,
And keep in mind, he wants to appeal this. He has a slim chance of winning. His argument is that even though Kyle was not hunting, he still needs a degree of what they call a certificate of accomplishment or a certificate of something. I forget. I keep forgetting what the name of it is. To me, it appears that he doesn't, and the judge agreed with that. But the appeals court could come in and say, you know what? I mean, the certificate of accomplishment, the spirit of it, was designed around possession as well as hunting. And, well, I mean, if you're liberal and you really hate guns, and I shouldn't say liberal, okay? If you really hate guns, and you are a pro-gun control advocate, I can see somebody thinking that. And so an appeals court could very well say, okay, sure. Of course, then it goes to the state Supreme Court. If they're willing to hear it, now you're talking 3-4 years. Okay. So this is a long, drawn-out deal. But I can see that if Binger can win on this, he can put a crimp on gun laws in Wisconsin and claim a victory. You see, even though I didn't convict Kyle, I did go and score a victory for gun control. Maybe that's his aim.
Yeah. Well, I already said it on numerous occasions. That what appears to be the case, at least to me, is that Binger is rather trying to push his future career past possibly past the as a prosecutor, like be it, for example, in politics, be it, like as a newscast or a law expert on CNN, or like something like that, like in some media, because we've seen it through Kyle's case, was that his arguments were not so much legal ones, but he was trying to get like stuff that will go like into the news. So yeah, like if he's maybe trying to push further there, like I don't know, but yeah, that dude is definitely not ethical at all.
Yeah, I mean, going back and reliving that trial and seeing the crap he pulled.
Yeah.
He's lucky that the judge didn't have an AR-15, because the judge would have probably opened up on him. He was that mad. He's like, dude, you're lucky I don't have a knife on me right now. I'll leap over this table and go right after you. Yeah, I mean, I saw a video with two prosecutors out of Texas that were, I guess, showing. And these are prosecutors, they're current prosecutors. And they were saying that what he was doing was well beyond the norms of what you should be able to get away with. But they were astonished he was doing so much of it. It was one thing if you do one time, right? But it seemed like he was always playing on the edge all the time. So yeah, he's unethical. He's a real weasel, a liar. And what else can you say?
Yeah. Something like that. If I may, for a second, we have here from Charvak Karpe. That's a cool name, by the way. Where are you from, mate? Lolbinger has no future career. Anyone who watched the trial must find him tremendously annoying. That is true, mate. But here's the issue. We've seen, since the beginning, and especially during the trial, and now afterwards, that people simply don't care about, facts and like of the case, etc. Like for them, it is to nail Kyle to a cross. And Binger, in my opinion, is kind of banking on this. At least it appeared to me that he's trying to be this crusader for the justice, whatever, a racist judge was, put in his way, and a racist jury, and that is the only reason why he didn't succeed. But he was fighting the good fight. You know what I mean? And people simply, I don't want to get into politics at all, not even calling, but the American left and or at least the extreme one, the woke, whatever, appears to embrace him, a lot. So I think to a degree he was banking on this, and he still does.
Well, his problem is that he's pissed off both sides. I mean, he pissed off the right from day one because for obvious reasons. He pissed off the left, the gun control mongers, because of his ineffectual prosecution. Keep in mind, what was their opinion? This is clearly a case of murder. In their mind, we saw it on video. He actually shot 3 people.
Right.
Of course, the whole idea of an affirmative defense has no way of getting through those thick skulls, right?
Yeah.
But in their mind, so in their mind, this should have been a slam dunk. And everybody, zeroed in on his completely ineffectual interrogation techniques. So the right thought he was a joker. The left thought he would let them down. So who actually favors Binger? There's one thing that you will notice. If you go through all of the commentary on social media, nobody ever praised him. Think about it. Nobody ever said, boy, that prosecutor, man, he's on it. They basically might have said, well, he's got his hand tied. The judge is not letting him do blah, blah, blah. But nobody ever said that he was doing a good job. So where is he going to get a career going? Oh boy. Well, keep in mind, he could probably still stay on with Gravely. Of course, Gravely's retiring. So I don't know what's going to happen to Binger after that. He has tried to run for district attorney and gotten beaten both times. Now he couldn't run for dog catcher and get elected. So, and frankly, if he was caught living under a bridge, begging people for cash, I'd be going, yeah, fine, good. I don't wish that on most people. I don't wish that on hardly anyone. but I wish it on him. He's a truly evil son of a bitch. Okay.
Just want to quickly also shout out, we have here Kenosha Cat that absolutely agrees with you. That is a miss, that is from Kenosha. And yeah, good one. And Charvakarpa, I hope I pronounced it correctly. That's your fellow Oklahomian. He was born in India.
But that's in the land of the enemy, though. That's Stillwater is Oklahoma State. I'm an OU grad. So, no, Eskimo Joe's. I used to go to Eskimo Joe's in Stillwater all the time, and I'm sure that person will know what I'm talking about.
Okay. By the way, when it comes to Dominick, I just wanted to also say that he is very unfortunate that basically he wasn't kind of more in the crosshairs of the angry mob, not necessarily speaking about the streets ones, but on the internet, because all the support that went Kyle's way, and he got a lot of support from plenty of people, financial one, simply is not going his way. Actually, I was on the Gift and Go, and they are now at 75,000, out of 100,000, so. Yeah, the lack of notoriety is hurting him there a bit, and especially after the Kyle's case, people simply moved on, if you would, and so he's in a very unfortunate situation when it comes to this.
Well, not only that, but he got trashed by Tim Pool completely unfairly, by the way. One of the absolute worst examples of character assassination that I have seen. Tim Pool is no mental giant. Okay, I'm saying it. I mean, I might agree with him politically, but I agree with him politically on most things. But he's no mental giant, and he went on there and completely trashed on Dominick. And I have a video on this as to why Dominick Black should sue the hell out of Tim Pool. But at any rate, he has really hurt Dominick's cause because he has a huge audience, and that's an audience that would have contributed to Dominick Black's flight. So that's really has hurt. Now, on the plus side, is it Matt Riekert, or what's what's Riekert's first name again? He's the lawyer, has the law channel. Somebody will pick it up. But at any rate, he did go on there and he said very positive things about Dominick, and that did boost. The big boost in the actual money was after that show. And so, these shows do make a difference. I've been trying to contact Nate the lawyer through his email address. He's shunned me completely, but I'd like to get him roped in and putting out some good positive vibes on Dominick, because this is very unfortunate what's happened to him. Keep in mind, Dominick didn't hurt anybody that night. It's not his fault that Kyle got himself in trouble. And so the idea somehow that Kyle gets off scot-free and he has to pay the price is absolutely absurd.
Yes.
And so if you're going to support Kyle Rittenhouse, you really should support Dominick Black if you can. Keep in mind, I mean, he's got a future that he wants to do. He wants to go in the military. He wants to be an airline pilot. He can't do those things if he has a felony on his record. Keep in mind, he can't do those things if he has a misdemeanor gun charge on his record. So, this is really important to him. And I'm going to, over the next, I don't know how many months, I'm going to be kind of rallying to try to get people to donate to his cause. How long it will take before he gets deplatformed, who knows, because they did that to Kyle. So it could happen to Dominick as well.
Well, I'll play here a wee bit of a devil's advocate, Well, Kyle was definitely deplatformed many times for like BS reasons, but when it comes to, for example, the whatever the first one, the biggest one, GoFundMe, there the policy was something around killing people, and since Dominick didn't kill anyone, he should be fine. But I'm not sure.
Kizer though has a platform there.
No.
How do we explain that? I mean, she killed a person. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm saying that I agree with you, but I'm just pointing out their hypocrisy.
100%. We have a good point from Christian Price. Now that Kyle is free, can he reach out to Tim and say, "Hey, bro, please correct the record on my boy"? Which, yeah, that would
Tim
not
Pool
be.
won't do it. The only thing that Tim Pool's going to react to is a lawsuit.
Yeah. One thing, just before we move on, the Tim Pool, I call him a well-informed idiot. I basically use him because they're very well informed. They when they summarize what is happening or what happened is usually correct, but their takes are like subpar to say the least.
Well, I will defend Tim on one thing. He does have to come up with his arguments more in the spur of the moment than I do. I typically do lots of research, and then I do a lot of editing. So I can go in there and say, "Oh, I found out that's not quite correct. I can adapt it." He can't do that. Okay, so I'll give him that. At the same time, how about correcting the record when you're wrong? That kind of helps. But, Tim Pool, he's arrogant. As far as would he respond to Kyle contacting him? I don't know, because keep in mind, these guys don't want celebrities, other people directing their show. And so they don't want it to be kind of led around by the noose. So I don't know how he would respond to it. So I'll go back on what I said earlier. If Kyle did do that, he might. But keep in mind, Kyle and Dominick are still friends. They can't communicate with each other because guess what? Dominick's on bail. Okay. Yeah. But they're still friends. Kyle went on a interview show here just a few days ago and talked about his friend Dominick, his best friend, as he called him, and said that Dominick didn't say anything to hurt him on the stand. In fact, helped him. So 100%. Certainly this certain evil plot that Dominick had against Kyle got past Kyle somehow. Yeah. So, and keep in mind, it wouldn't be an impression formed by just Dominick himself. His lawyers would have talked to him about it. They would have told him, "Hey, Dominick said this helps you. Dominick said that, this helps you." They're going to be explaining to him the implications of everything that Dominick said on the stand. And so in the end, Kyle came out of it feeling that Dominick did help him. And in one of my videos, I'm going to be walking through Dominick's testimony line by line and showing everybody that Dominick, if anything, helped Kyle. Again, it's so important. Binger is trying to nail Kyle for murder. He doesn't care about the weapons thing. If the judge had ruled that that a 17-year-old could not possess a weapon, he doesn't need Dominick's testimony to nail Kyle for that. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that Kyle had the rifle and that he was 17. Right. So he's not looking for evidence to support that charge. He's going after murder. And Dominick said nothing on the stand that implicated Kyle in anything as far as murder goes.
Right. First, I just want to the audience a technical question. I should have asked right at the beginning. Is our audio the same? Can you hear us the same, or is Johnny's maybe a bit louder? I sometimes have
he's worried I'm blowing everybody out.
some audio issues with StreamYard here and there. Now the second. I really disliked how Dominick was treated by Tim or even pro Kyle people on Twitter or otherwise when it came to, for example, turning over the video from CBS, and I was like, guys, the video literally could not have been used. It was like a real propensity evidence, right? So most likely what happened was that Dominick came to the spoke with his lawyers, and they told him, yeah, go ahead, give it to them, they cannot use it anyway. And so yeah.
And I would have those people who criticize Dominick on this. How hard do you think it would have been for Binger to get a hold of that video with a subpoena? He's a witness. Too. He's a witness in this trial, and he would have had no trouble getting a hold of it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree. But
I'll, I'll
let's
s-
just suppose that Dominick gave it up under more nefarious reasons. Okay,
hmm.
in other words, maybe he wasn't told ahead of time that this can't really hurt Kyle anyway. He's facing 20 years. If I'm
Yep.
facing 20 years, hey baby, here's the video. I'm handing that bitch over because you know why? 20 years in the federal pen is not something I would be looking forward to. I am not going to go
Hmm.
to jail for 20 years just to support some friend of mine that I've known for a couple of years. Not going to do
Right.
it. If it's my own flesh and blood brother, okay, but not a friend.
Yep.
I mean, and I'll say this: those of you who out there disagree, what if Dominick was your son? Would you advise him to not turn over the video and take 20 years in the federal pen for some friend of his?
Right.
None of you would. Mhm.
There's there's a saying that everyone thinks that they will be the one who will rush into a burning building to save people, but until you feel the heat on your face, you never can know. So look at it like that.
Yeah, it's just the same people. Well, not the same people, but there was also that argument. Why didn't Kyle fight JoJo with his bare fists? Yeah, okay, sure. Some dude that walking around with a chain earlier who is out to get in fights
You,
every time. He was a lot older. Um, yeah, come on. This is
it,
called Internet Tough Guy. And Tim Pool, if those of you who hadn't seen the show, Tim Pool, he created this wild story about how he went to jail for his brother under similar circumstances, but he didn't go to jail.
right.
It was by far the stupidest example to support your tough guy image that I've seen on the internet in quite a long time.
Yeah, that was rather humorous, I must say. And just wanted to say that also, like one thing where I honestly like with this, I was like, oh, like I would have wished to be in US just so I can like as much as possible confront like some of these idiots when it comes to how they basically describe what Kyle should have done or should not have done, fight with his bare hands and stuff like that. Just okay, let's test it out. You know what I mean? Here, like go against me, for example. Let's see how you will fare. And and let's see. And I don't know if you, but I know that you covered the protest at ASU against Kyle. Did you read the Communist Party manifesto?
Well, okay, wait a minute. Now you're not talking about the Communist Manifesto, the normal one.
Because the Students for Socialism, right? They
Right.
have an umbrella organization that is like national one in the US, and they have a manifesto, and
I didn't know
it's
that.
like I was like, okay, like guys, yeah, if someone is looking for dangerous people, like truly dangerous people, it's not Kyle. Those are these people that like protested Kyle and stuff like that. Not for the protest, but if you read the manifesto, like holy shit, that is like a communist dictatorship 101. Like
Sure.
I
But it
was
appeals
like,
to college kids, who don't have anything. And a lot of them, especially when they're majoring in studies that have very few bleak career outlooks, will never have anything. And so this is a good way for them to try to secure something from others. And of course, the real world realities of communism, they're not aware of them.
right.
That you know what, even though communism supposedly everybody has equal, nah, they're not really. It's not doesn't quite work
Literally
out like
can be.
that. And by the way, the one way to communism only works if you were able to suppress any kind of ambitions for bettering oneself. And the only way they can do it is to shoot people, and they do it all the time. And essentially, communist governments end up slaughtering people because ultimately there's going to be those who are going to question the whole paradigm because they want to be well compensated for their expertise. There's this yearning for being better than the next door person, right? You want to have a nicer car. And the way to stop that is to take people down into the cellar. And people say, oh, that's crazy. You just go down the list. You got China, you have the Soviet Union, Cambodia. Go down the list. They all do the same things. And it's inherent in the actual Marxist ideology. But that's, but the Arizona State thing, I just did a video on it. I just published it yesterday. You probably haven't seen it yet. But there's this notion out there that they want Kyle expelled because they're terrified of him. They are not scared of Kyle Rittenhouse. And then if he showed up on campus, they wouldn't go hide from him. They would go after him. They would circle around him. They would try to get into arguments with him. They would call him all kinds of names. That's kind of odd behavior for somebody, according to you, could pull out a Glock any moment and just start shooting people. Really? Right. No, they're not scared of him. They weren't scared of the AR-15. That's why those guys got shot in the first place. So, they're not scared of Kyle. This is a political deal. They don't want him on campus because they want to inflict punishment on him because he's a right-winger that got away with murder in their views. In the last video I did, I compared him to Michelle Jones. I don't know if you saw the video, but let me explain. Michelle Jones was a young black female who killed her own son when he was 4. He was 4 years old. She brutalized that kid and then locked him in his room and then didn't come back until after he was dead. And worse, they never found the body. She went out into the woods, buried him, never told anybody where she buried him. He's still out there somewhere. Well, she's now a graduate student at New York University. And a lot of universities recruited her. Now, she's probably pretty bright. I think she has done some really good work as she was a prisoner. And I am not opposing her entry into graduate school. She paid her dues. She spent 20 years and then released. So as long as she's qualified, equally qualified, I have no problem with it. But you can see the hypocrisy.
Iverson? We could move it back to Dominick. Just quickly, Neil is writing that Grambo is now willing to come on our shows as panelist. So,
well, that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I really admire her. And the one thing about Grambo that came across was this just genuine honesty.
Yes, I don't give a shit. Literally,
ask me any question, I'll tell you the answer.
Yeah, literally.
And it was very refreshing. You didn't get the impression that she was trying to couch things in certain ways. She felt, in my opinion, more than any of them, she really felt comfortable with her testimony.
Yeah. I
have no problem telling the prosecutor or the defendant's counsel what really happened. I felt she was awesome.
I would also say that also Drew Hernandez didn't have any problems with his testimony, in my opinion. But with her especially, that was because others were thinking, there's this thing called perjury. I need to navigate, be careful what I say, and she literally didn't care at all. But just everything there. And she was truly everyone believed her. There was not a question, literally, if what she's saying is true. I noticed, I heard on Neil's show today that she specifically said that she was criticized for saying the N-word on the stand when I quote, the N-word rolled off her tongue really easy. And I'm like, guys, she's quoting. I think if there's one exception, that's the one, during a trial and stuff like that. Especially when you're trying to as closely to describe so the so the jury can feel like they were there to a degree, like or how it would hit them.
I would also argue that her using the N-word so fluidly kind of backed up her persona as a person who's just saying it, calling it as she
Right.
sees it.
Absolutely.
She's not going to hedge on anything. And yeah, I think it helped her in a way. Of course, it's going to open her up to criticism from certain people. But, I don't think anybody in the jury agreed with them. I think that they kind of felt like, oh, wished I didn't have to hear that. But that's what she's claiming they said. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For this, we have a saying, who wants to be the dog will always find a steak. So if it would not be this, the people that wanted to criticize her would just pick something else, to be honest, So, want to move it, like back to Dominick or Chrystul a wee bit?
Yeah, I don't know if I have much else to talk about with Dominick at this time. Of course, this is going to be a fluid thing, and what kind of interests me is how much the news media is going to pick up on this. Are they going to ignore it completely, or are they going to start to pick up on this as kind of an interesting a way to kind of get the Kyle Rittenhouse thing going again? I don't know. We're going to find out. But in January, we'll find out for sure what Binger's motives are, but I can almost guarantee you that an appeal is coming. The other thing I thought he might do is that there's some disagreement, and Tim Pool actually brought up this kind of point, but with Andrew Branca, who's a famous lawyer, neither one of them quite knew what to do with it. I did because smarter, but that was a joke. Okay, but at any rate, the idea behind it is that Dominick Black is sort of claims that he didn't give Kyle the rifle. Okay, but for him to claim the exception, which is then the affirmative defense requires that he admit that he took the rifle, or I'm sorry, that he admit that he gave the rifle to Kyle. Of course, the counter argument is that if the prosecution wants to claim that, well, you didn't give Kyle the rifle in an attempt to sort of spurn that whole affirmative defense deal, then they have no case anymore, because their case rests on the fact that Dominick did in fact give Kyle the rifle. So there is a kind of a twisted legal argument that goes on there that I was prepping today to go on with my show, but never got it pushed out yet. It'll probably be out tomorrow. So that's the last. I don't know if that made any sense to anybody, but the fact that Dominick is kind of claimed that he didn't give Kyle the rifle creates an interesting legal scenario. That's all I'm saying.
100%. That I think we will not see that much from the national news. To be honest, interest, in this tops.
Oh, just 1 second. We got a question. Is Grambo coming on? I think the idea is that she might be coming on one of our panels later. Yes. I got a message from Neil. Was it Neil that said that she would be interested in joining us as a panelist? But I think that's for a future show.
Precisely.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. So I was saying the interests from the media will be mostly on the tops, in my opinion, on the local level or state level. Sorry, here and there. You will have, for example, the Wisconsin, I forget the name of the company, but I believe Fox Chicago, covered Kyle's case quite a lot. So I think from these stations we will see some interest. But other than that, not so much, unless there's basically unless there's dismissal or something like that, something goes really well in Dominick's favor, then it will be picked up by MSNBC or something like that. Oh, see, white supremacists and blah blah blah, or what what I mean, all that crap. Oh, yeah. They try to push.
But my concern is that people think that Dominick's case is a slam dunk. So why do we need to give him money? I mean, it's done, right? No, it's not a slam dunk. It's legally, I think he's in great shape. But the idea that Binger can't hurt him. Now, Binger can make his life pretty miserable. He still needs some funding. So before we depart for the day, we probably should put out some information to anybody out there that wants to donate to his cause. All of my videos, I think, have the link to donate to him. So if we forget, just go to one of my videos, and in the description, there's a link to his fundraising.
Yeah, I'm sending it to the chat, like again. So yeah, you have it there. Yeah, Dominick, with Chrystul.
Oh, well, you were going to say something about Dominick. Go ahead.
Yeah, with Dominick, I think he also is unfortunate in that this is purely legal thing. For example, I cannot make many videos on this, but one and that is, by the way, why there is lower notoriety, if you would, and also then less interest from potential donors and stuff like that. And I think to a degree they should focus with, well, first of all, they should be a wee bit more public, because I have not seen be it Dominick or his family or some spokesperson for him make any public statement, like Kyle did, which I think is a mistake, because in order to raise funds, you need to make headlines, or at least get somewhere, have some basically PR, you know what I mean, so that's first. And the second is, God, I mean, I got stuck.
Okay, I'll entertain the audience with shadow figures until he comes up with it. This is a dog.
Thank you. But let's watch. Oh yeah, and they should focus on a lot, in my opinion, like basically speak and hammer how bad Binger is as a person. And because there was honestly hundreds of thousands of people, even I would say millions of people have seen how just shady Binger is. What an idiot he is, and that was trending the hashtag #ThisBarBinger, and they should, in my opinion, kind of write on coattails of that. Be like, hey, you wanna really piss into Binger's ear? Here's your another chance. Help us win this fight against him, because you will not so much raise that much money on the, hey, help me because I'm innocent and stuff like that. But, help me if you want to really piss off that guy,
Well, keep in mind, there might be, and I'm not sure how the family feels or how Dominick feels, but they might kind of feel that, there's a chance that maybe over the next, between here and January, Binger starts to reflect back and think, it's not worth it. I don't agree, but keep in mind, I've never tangled with Binger. I've never met him, never talked to him.
Yeah.
So they might be in this mode of, let's not piss him off, and maybe he'll go away. And keep in mind, and I don't necessarily agree. I think Binger's really, really irked, and I think he's going to go full bore here. But maybe they kind of feel that it might be best to hold off. There's some point, though, where you have to come to an understanding that being quiet and keeping quiet and trying to keep this thing out of the court of public opinion is not going to work for you. We all saw that, what happened to Kyle. Keep in mind, everybody says, well, Kyle won. How long did the jury deliberate on an obvious self-defense case? And what happened was Binger, I think, played this thing out in the court of public opinion, and it worked to a certain extent. But I think that there is a point where you have to be able to say, you know what? Who cares if we piss them off? We need money. Right. And I don't know when that magic time is. I can't speak for them. They interact with him all the time. I don't. So I can understand why they're kind of being cagey about the whole thing.
I understand that reasoning, but I absolutely don't agree, because you are relying on a good, if that's the case, they are relying on a good faith of a man with a really bad history, be it like Kyle or other. Like he's a really shitty person. A petty person, a vengeful person. Like you can go down the list, just the shit that he pulled, during Kyle's trial. I'm sorry, and I would not roll, like the dice on this, because and he also I'm pretty sure that what happened with the compressed video file, with the drone footage and stuff like that, that was an accidental compression and stuff like that. It just didn't make sense. For example, what Miss Vaco said, that the file wasn't called something completely else. That just doesn't, happen, like that. And there are, other. So you have a person who not only what's the hides evidence, or something along those lines, something completely wrong, but also absolutely tramples on Kyle's Fifth Amendment right, and the list goes on and on and on. And you want to rely on good faith of this person?
I fully understand what you're saying. I do understand their point of view. I understand their fears, and. Well, we'll see. But I mean, there's clearly going to have to be some point where you realize that, keeping this thing out of the public eye is not doing us any good. But we'll see. Do we have any points here from the chat here? I can't see through these sunglasses.
So we have, for example, Ripley has a question if we are
really a Chrystul's
supporter.
That's a good question. That's an excellent question.
Depends.
By the way, Charbel asked a pretty good one after this, so we should come back to that. But are we, and I would assume that we kind of, both of us are in the same, not the same boat, but we have to answer to this. But am I a Chrystul supporter? I was initially, and I had videos explaining as to why Chrystul had a fairly good defense for her claims. Then the evidence started coming out. Now at this point, my feeling about it is whatever the evidence points to, we'll have to go with that.
Right.
It's unfortunate for her, but every time something gets revealed in that case, it's never in her favor. And it just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. By the time the trial comes around, maybe things will have turned. But man, she's got an uphill battle to fight here. Now, I will say this: her strategy, and of course it's her lawyer strategy, but the strategy is that there's an affirmative defense centered around safe harbor. Okay, and that means that she's been trafficked as a minor, and there is kind of a rule, a law that says that you can't be held accountable for crimes related to that trafficking. That's what she's banking on. Now, Gravely came in and said, well, now, wait a minute. This wasn't meant for murder. It was meant for things like drug possession. Like if your pimp gives you drugs to take and you get busted while doing it, you can't be held for possession because it was part of the trafficking thing. But it's not meant for you to just stalk your pimp and kill him. Okay? That's what the prosecution's claiming. Her claim is going to be that it doesn't matter if it's murder or not. She was trafficked. She had these horrors inflicted on her, and therefore this defense should cover her.
Right.
So you can see how this is going to shape up. My opinion of it is that there's a good chance she could get a hung jury. Right. There's just going to be people on the jury that say, look, what she went through, I can't blame her for what she did, and I'll be damned if I'm going to convict her. If she's relying on the pure reading of the law, though, I think she's in trouble.
Right. In a second, I just want to. I think we should, or I will quickly recap what was happening in Chrystul's Kizer case. She was, like just for those of you who do not know, she was at the time 17 years old. She was for a year and some change trafficked as a prostitute by this piece of shit, like Andrew Waller. No, yeah, Randy Waller, sorry. And yeah, what had happened was that she on purpose went to his place and killed him. There's no indication that there was any struggle or anything like that. There are also text messages that indicate that she went there with the purpose of killing him. She shot him twice in the head, tried to burn the body, stole his car, and drove away. Then she got apprehended later on. And she's, as Johnny explained, that's her legal strategy. Now, when it comes to Ripley's question, if I'm her supporter, well, that depends. If she just murdered him and with the intention of stealing his car and stuff like that, well, definitely no. But there was the thing that Mr. Volar was arrested because a 15-year-old girl escaped from him, and she reported him to the authorities, and they arrested him and secured a lot of child pornography, in his possession. He was, I believe, he was some time in jail, if I'm not mistaken, and then he was let go. If she, for example, killed him with that, hey, the cops will not protect us, we're gonna have to do it ourselves, something along those lines, then yeah, I would be her supporter. I would not have problem. Is it legal? No, hell no. But and do I understand the prosecution? Yeah, absolutely. But how could you blame her? You know what I mean, in that situation? But again, if I might point, the Kenosha PD is this is a failure, or the DA's failure. I don't know who failed there, but somewhere in the chain, there was a gigantic failure. How can you let such a man walk the streets again? So yeah.
Well, and the question is, can I blame her? I don't know, because I'm not quite sure yet completely what happened. I will probably find out a lot more as the trial unfolds. But I look at this thing from a straight legal standpoint. She's taken a legal strategy. She's claiming safe harbor. And there are criteria that she has to meet. They're kind of weird, but there's criteria that she has to meet. I went over this very thoroughly in one of my previous videos. I'm skeptical that she's going to be able to meet them. However, if she can, guess what? Not guilty. And she'll be able to enroll at Arizona State if she wants to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's the hypocrisy, though, is going to be fascinating. Keep in mind, what did you call Randall Volar when you mentioned him?
Yep. Piece of shit.
Okay. And guess what? Every time I've ever read an article by a leftist or an anti-collar, or whatever you want to call them, they go on and on about how he deserved to die because of the horrible things he was. Mm-hmm. But then they turn around and they say, JoJo, he was a hero. JoJo was a great man. Oh, that thing about raping boys, come on. We can't even bring that up in court. Had nothing to do with the shooting. Kyle didn't even know. So, the hypocrisy there is incredible. They bring up the child pornography thing all the time in the as a reason for her able to shoot Randall Volar, but then JoJo Rosenbaum, it's not even relevant. So, absolutely. Oh yeah, and then there's the gun thing, right? How much time have they spent talking about Kyle being in illegal possession of that weapon? And remember, if you're in illegal possession of the weapon, you're guilty.
Yeah,
you're guilty. But then she carried a handgun in her purse to his house and shot him.
Mm-hmm.
And hers was a felony. And yet you're going to hear what? Well, she had to protect herself. Okay,
Absolutely.
It's going to be horrible.
And what we will see from the media, from people, from everyone will be, oh yeah, well, Kyle got off with self-defense, and she was sexually trafficked, and she will not get off with self-defense. And not to mention that they will not even bother to basically read or to check, like her legal strategy, that she's not even going with self-defense. You know what I mean? That she's going with quite different like strategy. By the way, I just would like to also clarify with the with what I said, the condition when I would be like considered to support Chrystul Kizer, where she would kill Mr. Waller on purpose, and it would be in my mind, okay, don't forget that she was at the time 17 and after quite some severe trauma, like and stuff like that, possibly like on drugs or something like that. All that combined, not to mention not particularly educated, what I mean. Like I don't think she was like attending school that much, and it all compounds to being in completely desperate situation potentially. You know what I mean?
The reason why she was
That's
in a
hypothetical
desperate situation was because her family life was absolutely ludicrous.
Yes.
Her mother had a boyfriend who abused Chrystul. The mother threw Chrystul out of the house, and then of course the mother now is pounding the theme that we got to get justice for for Chrystul. We got to get justice.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Come on, lady, you're the biggest hypocrite around. So yeah. By the way, Charbel asked a really good question about Dominick. Can we just refer back to this about?
Sure.
The problem is that Dominick already testified that it was Kyle's rifle, paid for with Kyle's money, and was going to be transferred to Kyle once he turned 18. Okay, there is a lot of back and forth about that. And if this thing does go to court, by the way, a lot of misconceptions out there. There's nothing illegal about the purchase of the rifle as far as state of Wisconsin law is concerned. They say it's a straw purchase. It probably was a straw purchase, though, is not illegal in Wisconsin because Kyle's possession of it was not a felony. So that's the reason why Dominick was never charged with the straw purchase. It's not illegal in Wisconsin. It could have broken federal law. Will the feds come in after Dominick and Kyle after this? Well, we'll see. Frankly, I don't think so, and I think it's for these reasons. Dominick basically said on the stand, and Kyle agreed that the rifle was not going to be given to Kyle at all. It was going to be held by Dominick and only loaned to Kyle under certain conditions. And is that a straw purchase? In my opinion, no. And I don't think that the feds will prosecute Dominick. I don't think that there is much chance there for that. I mean, let's face it. It doesn't matter whose money it was. I don't think that's even an issue. The fact is that Kyle gave him the money for the purchase with the understanding that he was not going to take possession of the rifle until he turned 18. So, but then again, who knows? I've argued a lot about this, but we'll see. Okay, well, getting back to Chrystul, I want to put the imagery in everybody's mind. Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse goes in and shoots 3 men at a Black Lives Matter protest. You want to call it a demonstration or riot, whatever. But let's look at this thing from the left standpoint. This was a demonstration, a peaceful demonstration. Kyle showed up and shot 3 people. And then the judge, being a meanie and a white supremacist, Ku Klux Klan Grand Dragon, wouldn't let poor Binger have any opportunity to prosecute him, wouldn't even let him bring in the whole CVS pharmacy thing, and of course the white supremacy thing at Pudgy's. So that's the reason why Kyle got off, was because the white supremacy machine was all geared towards Kyle's acquittal. And now we have Chrystul Kizer. And now she's going up for doing what? Shooting somebody they think in self-defense. She's not claiming self-defense, but they don't know that. They think that she's claiming self-defense. But unfortunately, this could turn into a successful prosecution. She could get convicted here. And what happens if she's convicted, but he's exonerated by the same judge? No, it's not the same judge, sorry. By the same court system as Kyle Rittenhouse. How many buildings are going to burn? We could have a little.
Hello? Do we have a freeze?
What do you think the reaction is going to be?
I need to ask if you could repeat that, or if audience has seen the freeze too. You froze on my side.
So Kyle Rittenhouse, he's acquitted for shooting 3 people at a Black Lives Matter protest, and he's acquitted because there is a white supremacist judge, and the system is white supremacist. And now we have young Black female who is going up on murder charges, claiming self-defense. She's not, but that's what they think. And what happens if she is convicted? Remember, the person she killed is Randall Vollard. Everybody agrees that he's a scum of the earth. And he's white. What do you think is the reaction going to be?
Yep. And this is why I'm basically interested in the Kyle's saga so much, because those are blatant lies. Those are not just nudging the truth here and there. It's like insanity, and I'm just worried what they will try to lie about next. I thought, honestly, to a degree, that it was a test for the media. What can we get away with? And as a result of this, a lot of people will get hurt. That is undeniable.
Well, here's the headlines are going to read: self-defense, self-defense. We learned already with Kyle Rittenhouse's trial that the news organizations like NBC cannot fathom any kind of complexity in the law. And that's the reason why they claimed that, Kyle's defense claims that Kyle was out hunting. Well, the reason why they made that headline and they wrote the way they did is they understand that. I mean, it's not true, of course. It was just the opposite. Right? Kyle's defense was saying, no, he was not hunting. That's why he could carry the rifle. But they cannot understand the complexity of those exceptions to 948.60. Now we're expecting the NBC to go in and talk about the safe harbor with its 5 exceptions. What's easier to understand, that or self-defense?
Absolutely.
So the news media is going to paint this thing as a self-defense case, but it's clearly not. There's no way in the hell that Chrystul Kizer is going to be able to claim self-defense in this. The evidence is simply not there, and they're not trying.
So we have 2 questions, here. First from YouTube user, great name, original. Was Vollard shot twice in the head, in the back of the head? As far as I know, no, he was shot twice from the front.
No, he was shot. I'm pretty sure he was shot in the head as he was sitting down in a chair.
Yeah, but from the front, not from the back. I think. Could be wrong on that. But I
don't know. You got me on that one. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I will just quickly recap Chrystul's legal defense or the strategy, because Curbside Nation is asking, so what is her legal defense? That it sounds like a murder to him. The legal defense is that because she was sexually trafficked, she was basically forced to be a prostitute for Mr. Vollard, that there's an exemption on from the law, that the crimes. Well, you explained better. Actually, I just lost the.
So it's called safe harbor by a number of states. Oddly enough, they don't use the term safe harbor in Wisconsin's legal their statutes, but it's essentially the same. The whole point of this was this: in the past, prostitutes were always being jailed for all kinds of crap. And most of it was because their pimps made them do it. So they were used as like mules for carrying drugs around because the pimps didn't want to carry it, right? So if she gets, in the pinch, she got the drugs on her, I don't go to jail. And so a lot of times these prostitutes were being put into jail for crimes that really were not of their doing. It was because of the situation they were in. And so they passed these laws called safe harbor laws that basically said that, look, if your crime was a result of, directly connected to the sexual trafficking that you were being placed under, you cannot be convicted of it. And of course, the prosecution is saying, look, that was meant for things like drug offenses and prostitution itself, right? So it basically made prostitution practically legal as far as the conviction of prostitutes go. You can still go after the Johns, the clients, and you can still go after the pimps, but prostitutes themselves were harder to convict because the crime of prostitution was obviously related to their trafficking. Okay. So that was the whole basis for this, was to ease up on prostitutes so that we're not throwing them in the jail all of the time. This is the first time that, as far as I know, that someone is claiming that their killing of the pimp was protected under this. Okay. Well, you can see the obvious problems with this argument, right? It basically gives a person a license to kill. No matter, and the rule has basically always been in this country that no matter what somebody has done to you, no matter how badly they've treated you, you don't have a right to stalk them down and kill them. However, this law, as the defense is interpreting it, basically says that you can. That if this person has been trafficking you, has been, pimping you out, it doesn't have to be minors. It could be for adults as well. But if that person is doing these horrible things to you and you kill him, then you can't be prosecuted. Obviously, the repercussions of that are pretty serious. It basically makes it open season on pimps by their prostitutes. And while a lot of people will applaud that, keep in mind that's not the way our justice system is supposed to work. So the defense came in, made the safe harbor affirmative defense. So it's affirmative defense is like self-defense. You're going to claim that, yeah, I did shoot him. I satisfied all of these elements of murder, but I'm excused from it because I have this defense here that I was trafficked. And I said on my show that the prosecution, by the way, appealed. They said, oh, come on, you can't do that. The appeals court said, no, this applies to murder too. Which, okay, my first reaction was, holy cow, are you really kidding me? But then, so I made a video on it claiming this is ridiculous, this is crazy. But then I read the actual appeals court ruling. The requirements that she has to meet, there's 5 of them, are pretty stringent. And so I don't think that she's going to have to prove that the killing was directly connected to the trafficking. It's just one of them. Well, that's kind of a tough sell.
Awesome. If I may, we have here Samuel Spencer. He's replying and he's saying that he would go with insanity. Hard to sell when you have the text. The prosecution has the text, saying that basically suggesting that it was, premeditated, that she was going to, on purpose with clear mind to the house, and so that is basically off the table.
And keep in mind, there is a famous case called the burning bed case here in the United States, where an abused wife basically burned her husband alive. He was sleeping on a bed, and she poured gasoline on it and set it on fire and killed him. And she claimed insanity, and she won. She was not convicted, and they had a movie made out about it called The Burning Bed with Farrah Fawcett Majors. This is back in the 80s, I believe. So there is some, let's say, prior case law on this, but I think you're right. An insanity plea, going back to the evidence of what happened, it doesn't really come across as a person who's temporarily insane.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I don't know at what point they can claim an insanity defense. I mean, after all, is that something you have to claim at the outset? Or can that be considered like a lesser offense kind of deal where the jury can take this into account? I don't know. We'll probably find out more about that. I don't. Her defense team has mentioned nothing about insanity, so I don't think it's on their radar.
Yep. Not to mention that already the statements that she gave to police, like what around it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
allow her to do that.
If there was ever a case where you didn't want your client talking to the cops, it's Chrystul Kizer. She said about everything you don't want to say to them, and one of the ones that is going to be really big to the jury, not much to the media. They'll completely bury this, but they asked her, when you set fire to the house, did you know if he was alive? And she said no. So she's claiming, she basically testified to the cops that she may very well have burned him alive, and it comes across as non-caring. You know, as much as we hate somebody, burning somebody alive is really that really it makes it tough. That's pretty unpalatable. We don't wish that on almost anybody, even Randall Volar, as despite all the horrible things he did. Even the jury is going to say that's a bit much. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah. I'm rather worried. Like, I know this is shitty to say, but now it is just about the lawyers, so that like this. The precedent that if she's successful with this defense, like, will be insane. And so I'm in a kind of like tough spot, like to a degree, not so much, like I don't look like not my country, like, so I'm like fairly okay with it from this case. But the precedent that it will set is literally, you can, as long as you are a prostitute, you can go around, like, and kill your pimp. Not to mention it, like, even if for people who don't have a problem with this, well, there will be plenty of cases where the wrong person will get killed. You know what I mean? The person who is just perceived to be a pimp, for example, or, maybe a woman will use it and, like, will lie about it, will manufacture, like, evidence, like, for premeditated murder, etc. So the precedent would be absolutely insane. So in this case.
Let's go ahead and extend this a little bit more. Why is it only limited to sex trafficking? What about children of parents who abuse them? Are they not also undergoing extreme trauma on a daily basis? Are we going to excuse that, killing their parents? I mean, you could see that this could go well beyond just trafficking. And so, this would be the first time that we would be basically giving people the license to kill. And, we have a self-defense law, but the understanding of it is that you kill to defend your own life at that moment. This was not revenge. This was not to get even or to get yourself out of a situation. It was designed to prevent you from getting hurt yourself. This would not be. This would be like, he's trafficking me. I'll wait for him when he comes home and I'll shoot him. That's not self-defense, but you could still get away with it.
Yep.
Insanity hard to prove.
Yeah, I actually had like a kind of a idea an angle that the defense could play, and that is basically use Kyle's case that he got acquitted, and basically approach DA, be like, do you really want to prosecute from political reasons? Do you really want to prosecute this case? Like a young black girl, like that killed her sex trafficker, like a white man and stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. You really are prepared to take this heat on.
Oh, boy.
Like kind of like that. Let's make some kind of a deal, let's plea this down, like somehow,
Well, they already offered her a plea. They offered to plead it down to manslaughter, and she refused it.
What would be do you know what she would have to spend, how many years she would have to spend?
I thought it was a maximum of 20. And of course, given her situation, by the way, she has been in trouble with the law. Yeah. She was engaged in carjacking, in fact. She's been in trouble. I mean, she's kind of a bad girl in that sense. So in that case, that would be brought up about her during sentencing. But the fact that she was trafficked and her home life was absolutely horrible would probably play pretty well in her favor. She wouldn't get 20.
Yeah. She could, I'm just thinking what I would do, if I would be in her shoes, right now, and what would be the thing would be to go on some very popular show, or at least have my lawyer speak there or something like that to stoke, for example, try to reach out to LeBron or something like that. I don't know, whatever it would take.
Well, I think she will. Yeah. I mean, I think you're going to see that. And she is going to be a popular celebrity, in my opinion.
And just basically go with the angle. Look, all this horrible stuff was happening. We even reported, like Mr. Volar to police. We basically got it there. Where you were, why you didn't help me before, and stuff like that. I was young, I was scared, I was blah blah blah. Like all that. Basically, play the emotions, soak the and create such a pardon me, but shitstorm that the DA would have to go through. Like that he would have constantly protests, protesters, in front of his office and stuff like that. That he would be like, I don't really want to prosecute it that much. Let's play this down, to something, and he would maybe go. I don't know if it would work, but that would be at least the angle I would be choosing.
Well, here I'm going to play the pragmatic prosecutor here. I dropped this thing. I just dropped charges. I can go on to something else. Okay. And the reason why is because if I'm going to be in Gravely's shoes, there is no winning this thing. He is going to be thrashed beyond recognition. You really think that Kyle was butchered? Wait until Gravely has to explain why he is persecuting a young black female who killed the man who sexually trafficked her.
Yep.
What's he going to gain out of this? I mean, I don't even know why he's prosecuting her at this point. That's it's sort of his job, but I mean, at this point, he could simply say, "We looked at the safe harbor deal. Guess what? I don't think we have a case here now, so I'm going to go ahead and drop
after the appeals court and stuff like that. Yeah, but there's another angle that the defense team, and this would be public, a court of public opinion, but it would work, would be like, oh yeah, did you see Binger's performance during Kyle's trial? He bungled up the trial and basically made it sure that Kyle Rittenhouse got away with a murder. He was because he was to be honest, Binger was doing the defense job for them better than they were, to be honest, throughout the trial. And so if they would choose this angle, because the DA office is white supremacist and blah blah blah, all that stuff, they basically made it so that Kyle Rittenhouse can get away with a murder, so he's not has some problems with the double jeopardy and stuff like that. And now they are going after Chrystul, Kizer and stuff like that. That would be another angle to basically put a lot of pressure on the DA's office. So yeah.
I mean, by the way, if you there's going to be a big contrast here between Binger and Gravely. Binger stumbles around. We saw his performance. Some of us were wondering how in the hell this guy got a law degree. Gravely is no slouch, and I think people are going to watch if this thing goes to trial with Chrystul Kizer. You're going to see a guy who's a pretty seasoned interrogator. And the contrast is not going to get lost on the people on the left. who are going to see, like, oh my gosh, when it's one of ours,
There you
look
go.
how they're going after this person. So that's going to confirm to them that Bingo must have been throwing this thing. Because after all, we all saw the video. Kyle clearly went out and murdered 2 people and shot another, and Binger couldn't do anything. But here's Gravely coming along, and boom, here's the evidence. Boom, here's the evidence. It's going to be interesting. And again, I don't know why Gravely's even pursuing. I wouldn't. I would just drop this. I'd say, hey man, they don't pay me enough money to undergo the threats that I'm going to get. You think people are mad at Kyle? You wait until the Chrystul Kizer case comes up. Yep. There's going to be death threats against Gravely all day long.
100%. Just want to, because like Richie Corner has here a good point, and that is true, because like in the end, this is precisely what the prosecutor's job is. You know what I mean? Like she. Let's be honest, it's basically a murder. You know, like it is a murder, and like she came, you know, like unless there's some like insane thing, you know, like I don't see how anyone can say anything else.
But I think that Richie is saying though that he's legally obligated to.
Yes, that's what I mean. And my question, okay.
I don't know what would prevent a prosecutor from getting a result from an appeals court and saying the appeals court's got it. We simply cannot win this because the appeals court ruled that that she has an affirmative defense here, and we can't. I don't know. He might be right. It may be that he has to prosecute this, but I don't know.
But yeah, I wanted to ask you, in Wisconsin, when the DA makes a deal with the defendant, who decides on the sentence, and like then, like is it like DA basically, oh, I'm happy with this, or is it then going to a judge? Johnnie?
Try the question again. Got distracted for just a moment.
Yeah, if the defendant and the DA, they reach a deal, right? For example, here with on the manslaughter, and you said that the maximum is 20 years. Who decides on how many years Chrystul spends in prison? And like, is it the DA who says, "Oh, okay, I'm fine with 8 years," for example, or is it up to a judge?
The judge. It's always up to the judge. The judge could say, I mean, the prosecution could, in principle, say we're only looking at 1 year. The defense could say we don't want any, and the judge come back with 10 years. The judge is completely in control of the sentence within guidelines, of course. Now, one of the mistakes a lot of people think is that when the law says there's a minimum of 10 years, it's not true. The judge can make it 0. The Supreme Court already ruled on that. So while there may be statutes in place that set a minimum, the judge can violate that. Now, he can't violate a maximum. But yeah, the judge could. I mean, although it's rarely ever done. But usually the judge is if he's really mad at the defendant, he'll just take the prosecution's suggested charge. Going above it, probably kind of rare, but we'll see. DA can only recommend, yes. It's a recommendation. You're saying that we think that the appropriate sentence is this. The judge decides.
Right. Well, by the way, just saying, we have in Czech Republic the same principle. We have the same principle where the prosecution, like recommends, and the judge, like then decides on their own. We have just a quick question from Mr. Jackson. When is the case scheduled to begin?
I'm sorry, you were asking me a question?
Yes, Mr.
I'm
Jackson.
sorry. I thought you were asking John Jackson.
No.
Okay, when is the case scheduled to begin? Chrystul Kizer's is probably in the spring. I don't think they've set a date because they're still mulling over the appeals thing. So people say, "Oh, the appeals, a couple of weeks." No, they've been hammering on this appeals thing for a good year now, and they still haven't decided it. So we don't have a court date, but I'm thinking spring.
Yeah, just also to check it. The Judge Schroeder is not presiding over this over Chrystus's case, as far
Yeah,
as I
but
know.
he is presiding over Dominick's.
Yes.
So Schroeder is a hard sentencer. He's the hanging judge, but I don't know if that reputation isn't based on repeat offenders. Now, a
Well,
first-time
but
offender,
she
maybe he's more
is
lenient.
okay.
You know, sometimes judges could be the like the hanging judge because the person, this is their second time. What do you mean second time? You didn't learn from the first time? Well, you know what? 20 years for you. So I can see judges being like that and gaining a reputation as being a hard sentencer. I don't know how Judge Schroeder treats first-time offenders. He could be very
Right.
fair, maybe. Don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's not doing the Chrystul Kizer case.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. Do we have like something else like around with Chrystul or Dominick's case like to speak about?
Yeah. Okay, you mumbled something. What was that again?
If we have something else around Chrystul Kizer's like case or Dominick's case like to discuss, because I'm not sure.
I think it's a good time to pitch in for Dominick's, fundraising. You know what? Do you have the link? Can we post that?
Yeah, already a few times like posted it. So
oh, okay, good. And if you watch any of my videos on my channel, you go to the description. The link for Dominick's legal defense is there. He needs money. Kyle got a lot of support. But there it is. Yeah, Kyle got a lot of support because his case was much more prominent. Dominick is really relying on us, and so anything you could give would make a bigger dent in their goal than with Kyle. With Kyle, you donate $20 and you think that they need $2 million. It's a little bit intimidating, but here a $20, $100, whatever goes a long ways.
Yep. Just want to say quickly. This is just me. I don't. If someone will be asking, like how much did I donate, be it to Kyle or to Dominick's and like their defense teams, I don't donate outside of the country, like for charity. Guys, like nothing personal. It's just like I'm a patriot. My country takes priority, So
yeah, I don't mention how much I donate either, because no matter how much you list, some people will say, "Well, is that all you donated?" It's like you can't win that.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Donate, but you don't need to tell anybody. And you can do it anonymously. So
yeah, just a question. And like here is set in like my nephew, so I'm guessing this is his uncle, and like he's a pilot, and I'm guessing that's who Dominick was inspired by to be a pilot, right?
Right. Yeah, I guess he's always wanted to be a commercial pilot, and he was going to join the Air Force because that's often an avenue for becoming a commercial pilot. You pilot like real military planes, and then when you get done with your service agreement, you go into the commercial airlines. I think that was his approach all along. So he really wants to join the military. Great. I mean, that's awesome. And then he wants to go and become a commercial pilot. And Binger is doing everything he can to destroy that career.
Yeah.
And for what? What does the society benefit from this persecution of Dominick? Can somebody explain in the chat window what the benefit is? I mean, I can understand the persecution of Kyle to a certain extent, because people thought he murdered somebody. Okay, I get it. But with Dominick, his biggest offense is he just didn't have the nerve to tell his friend no. And they're going to destroy his life, or try to, for what gain? What's gain from this?
And not to look, I would understand if Kyle would be found guilty. You know what I mean? Basically, if it would be like, okay, he committed a crime, he murdered someone, or like negligent manslaughter. Okay, I get it then. But it was ruled everything was legal there. You know what I mean? And this is not me saying that it should automatically dismiss Dominick's charges, but like he literally didn't do anything wrong. He gave the weapon to very responsible person who, like, I mean, we spoke about it like often, but like to this day, I'm incredibly impressed by Kyle's like trigger control and just like how he fired only on the threats and like that like only on the people that were immediate threat to him, that were immediately attacking him. Like holy crap, many like far like with more experience and more training people would just kill probably like few more people than Kyle did. Like it was like.
I always chuckle at all of the internet experts telling me and others how they would have handled the situation. You haven't been in that situation.
Yep.
A lot of them will say, "Well, I was a combat veteran." Yeah, you were being chased across a parking lot at night. Sorry, whatever you went through in combat is not like this at all. You're also weren't 17. Don't lie to me and tell me you were 17 years old when you were facing this situation. So all of these internet experts come in and they all claim about how they would have handled it. Frankly, 99.99% of them would have handled it far worse. So, and I will include myself in that. If I had been 17 in his shoes, there might have been 7 or 8 people laying dead there in the streets. And a lot of them would have probably not deserved it. I mean, at 17, now I think differently. I'm older, but at 17, I would have probably gotten panicky and I would have shot anything that moved. There would have been dogs laying dead in the front of the houses and stuff because it moved at the wrong time. That's how things would have been. So you look back at what Kyle did, I'm truly incredibly impressed, especially since he didn't have a lot of experience firing that weapon. Saw the stance. He didn't seem to know much about weapons or ammo or anything. He comes across as a kid who thought the gun was really cool and this is a lot of fun. Let's go out target shooting and things like that. Like a typical, ordinary 17-year-old. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say that the veterans and stuff like that, they can shut the fuck up because, guys, unless you were in a series, it really hit the fan. No, you don't have. Because how combat works is that you have your brothers in arms on the left, on the right, behind you. They cover your back. Cal didn't have this. He was running through potentially a hostile crowd, and that is the crazy thing. Why, like I'm saying, the self, like the restraint that he had, because your mind in that situation is like incredibly paranoid. It's like, oh, that person over there who is, like having his, for example, hand in a pocket or something like that, or behind him, is he, for example, reaching for a phone, for a pistol, you know what I mean? Because don't forget, there were shots all around Kyle ringing out, like after Mr. Rosen's one shoot, you know what I mean? Or even before. So he knew that there were hostile people who were armed in the crowd, and it's just insane. You know what I mean? When you are in a combat and you simply know where the danger is coming from, that's usually from in front of you, and like that's it. It's stressful, yes, but it's nowhere near this. Like, I'm sorry, no. You will have unless you have a breach in your perimeter and stuff like that. Nope. You don't. You have no idea what it is like. And just want to quickly point out one of the scariest things. That it is actually funny that two very scary things that I can 100% guarantee are incredibly scary, or like terrifying to human mind, just on a primal level, is burning city. Like when you see a city burning, like from afar, that's incredibly scary a sight. Like it fills you with dread to your core. If anyone knows, for example, the movie Enemy at the Gates from World War II movie from Russia about Vasily Zaitsev, like the sniper and stuff like that. I think I've
seen trailers of it, yeah.
Yeah, right at the beginning of the movie, when the conscripts, like step outside of the train, like, and they see Stalingrad on the other side of the Volga. By the way, Volga River, just gigantic river. You know what I mean? Like many miles, like just like wide at that point. And the Stalingrad is completely, what I mean, like destroyed. There's smoke everywhere and stuff like that. And they are just frozen in place with terror. And that is something that happens to you, like honestly. It's so terrifying. It must be something evolutionary in us, in humans. And the other one is,
I'm sorry. I would also like to mention that, the whole thing about spraying and praying, people say, well, that's from a lack of training. Combat soldiers spray and pray all the time. And in fact, it's a common problem with troops when they get into their first action. They exhibit far worse gun control than Kyle did that night. And in fact, one of the common problems they had in the Spanish Civil War was troops firing at airplanes that were way out of range. It comes in at 2,000 feet and they're firing at the thing, right? It's like, dude, that bullet's not going to go anywhere near that aircraft. And so they wasted a lot of ammunition from nerves. And so the idea of the fact that, well, a combat soldier is cool and calm. Look at Kyle panicking. Give me a break. Combat troops are scared just as much as Kyle was. And Kyle was probably scared far more, but he handled himself superbly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good men freeze up. You no kidding. There was a book by the name by Paul Chrystul, and he was a former SS officer, and he wrote a book on Rommel from the German side, and the book was more about people, troops, and how they conducted themselves. And he talked about the fear all the time. We don't see it in the movies, but yeah. And Audie Murphy, in his biography, talked about the fact that when a soldier walked by and they saw a body for the first time, they immediately thought, that could be me. And it deeply affected them. And so, these soldiers are not automatons. They're not cyborgs. And if even a seasoned combat vet could have ended up shooting far more people that night than
100%. Yeah. And just quickly, I want to finish in like the point. The second thing that is just primal is people chasing you. Like someone is following you, someone is chasing after you. And if you want examples of this, because to relate to people from pop culture, because that is something we have all in common, that we know what we're talking about. If someone's seen, for example, 28 Weeks Later, it's a zombie movie from United Kingdom, that just the silhouettes emerging on a hilltop. That was an incredibly scary sight, what I mean. You knew what it was, and it speaks on a primal level. But if I may, there was another one, the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, when they were being pursued by the 3 or 4 sheriffs, I now forgot, and you always seen just silhouettes on the horizon, and it was all. And that was quite scary too. And you've seen that, in the movie, how they were scared, and those were seasoned outlaws. That is just a primal thing that is inside all of us. You know what I mean? So that was incredibly scary situation. And as Mr. Jackson here says, the paranoia about IEDs in Iraq, for example. And guys, the combat, personnel was panicking, and overreacting constantly. For example, in the series Generation Kill, or in the book, there were multiple instances where they shot way too soon, for example, and those were extremely well trained, Marines from the First Recon, what I mean? Those were Special Forces soldiers, and they panicked in relatively calm situations, what I mean? So, exactly.
And we also have the War of Los Angeles, where our shore batteries in Los Angeles went off shooting at imaginary.
Hello?
They had air raid sirens going off. People were firing off at cannons, or not cannons, but artillery and stuff like that. And there was nothing out there. And so, By the way, there was an interesting thing about the ammunition that cropped up. And they all remember in Kyle's case. And one of the disappointments that we saw was when Binger asked Kyle who bought the ammo. And Kyle said, Dominick. You can see Binger go like, crap, because he spent all this time talking about, that full metal jacket. Ooh, it's armor piercing. Why did you use full metal jacket? Well, I didn't even buy the ammo. Dominick did. And of course, the reason why you ended up buying full metal jacket, which sounds scary because the movie, is probably because it was cheapest at the time. When I'm going out target shooting, I'm not going to go out and buy expensive ammo. I'm going to buy what's on sale. I don't care if it's hollow point or what. I don't care
Yeah.
because I'm just going to be punching holes in paper, right? And
Right.
so I wouldn't go out and buy hollow points. I'm not trying to kill the target. I just want to put a hole in it. And so why do you purchase the Full Metal Jacket? It was probably the cheapest, right? And so you look
Mm-hmm.
up, oh, here, $25.99. The other one's $32.99. Guess which one you're going to buy?
Well, that's one thing. Well, first of all, I really regret that there wasn't a zoom in on Mr. Gross's face when he was saying, why you didn't have hollow points? Because if someone is very grateful that Kyle didn't have hollow points, it's Mr. Gross, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I know. So, and of course, the choice of the AR-15 rifle, well, if he had shot him with a shotgun, goodbye all. That arm is history. So and there was a common saying among prosecutors or lawyers, and that is that the choice of ammo is never going to be the good one as far as a prosecutor goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just keep that in mind. If you buy hollow points, they're going to say, well, why did you get a bullet that explodes inside you, right?
I heard Mr. Branca on the Rekia law. Basically, he recommends to get whatever FBI is issuing that year. There's a prudent advice.
There's no safe ammunition from a prosecutor.
Yeah,
unless you buy stuff. I recommend if you're going to be going out and using self-defense, don't buy anything that sounds really nice,
scary.
Like the mass killer. you don't want to buy ammunition. Just buy Winchester, Remington, or whatever. But no matter what you choose, it's going to be used against you. So
absolutely. I bet Binger in the next case that he's prosecuting will be claiming that why you did get hollow points and not FMJ rounds. You know what I mean? Like you wanted to kill people. 100%.
He's going to be probably asking if this thing goes to trial. He's going to probably be asking Dominick, why did you choose the Full Metal Jacket? Well, first of all, I would say that, look, Dominick never bought any ammunition with the idea that Kyle would go out and shoot somebody with it. Nobody, even the most vicious anti-Kyle and anti-Dominick people, believe that Dominick chose to buy the ammunition so that Kyle could go off and shoot people. Right. But the other one, I know what you're thinking, well, I don't know. This is Binger we're talking about. But what was I going to go with that? But at any rate, I think that question might come up. It might not, because I think it's so absurd to even think that Dominick's choice of ammo meant anything as far as Dominick's charges go.
Yep.
Do you have anything else out here from viewer land?
I just wanted to recommend to Mr. John Jackson. He was saying that he's right now reading a book from Russian Civil War, and I wanted to recommend a video from Lindy Beige.
Is it the tank guy?
Yeah, tank and history, and he made a video on Czech Foreign Legion, Czech Legion, that was during the First World War stuck because Russia capitulated after the revolution, and they were stuck in Russia, and they wanted to get back into the fight, into the war, but they couldn't go west because there was German forces and Austrian-Hungarian forces, so they needed to literally fight through all the sea of chaos of Russian Civil War, all the way across Russia to the Pacific coast, and the plan was then to hop on ships, and go through either Panama Canal or through US back to Europe. They literally needed to go all around the world, and Lindy Beige made absolutely brilliant video about this. And so spoiler alert, there's as I said, fighting across the whole Trans-Siberian Magistrate, which is the railroad that goes through the entirety of Russia, which is, I don't know how many miles long, but it's really, really long. They needed to control that. And plenty of stories and stuff like that. And they even stole the whole of Russia gold reserves. The whole treasure, you know what I mean? So the story is truly insane. And I just regret that it wasn't made into a movie or a TV series yet, because the material is definitely there. By the way, also quickly, the Reds came up with a saying, it's better to fight the devil than to fight a Czech. Yeah, so... yeah, we had also one more Czech plug. We had from some... Can't find the question now, but someone was asking if yeah, there it is. If Dominick has glasses, if he can be a pilot, and well, for that, you know, contact lenses are, you know, that's what contact lenses are for. And just saying, contact lenses were discovered, you know, like or invented in in Czechoslovakia back in the day. So, yeah.
Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia, I said.
And by the way, I come from the Scots, so I don't want to hear any stuff about, you know, nastiness. The Scots are pretty much fighters too. Oh man, but yeah, there's you're talking about the Russian Civil War, talking about the red versus white Russians, I assume.
Yeah, and the, you know, like the Czech Legion, you know, like they basically, they just wanted to go home. But, you know, like the comics kind of didn't want to let them, you know what I mean? They were very paranoid. And then, okay, the Czech legions decided, okay, no, we're not taking any chances. We keep our, you know, like our weapons and stuff like that. And they captured, you know, like multiple towns, you know what I mean? It took years, you know, like to fight their way. Because, you know, like there was tens of thousands of men, you know what I mean? And so they were spread across the whole railroad, you know, and stuff like that. So it was insane. It was like truly like something. And as I said, I really regret that there wasn't made, for example, HBO miniseries about it, because the material is truly there.
I'm just looking something up here.
Richie Corner says, I don't think you can be a military pilot with anything less than perfect vision. So what?
Okay, so we also have two more cases that are going to be coming up here pretty soon, I think, in Kenosha. Okay, so we have Jesus Medrano. Now, Jesus Medrano is the one that Kimberly Motley said we have a person of color in here who had a $2.5 million bail, and Kyle only has a $2 million bail. And if you remember, Schroeder said, hey, I don't want to hear this crap. Right. It doesn't matter about this person of color thing. Of course, keep in mind, Kimberly Motley's making a big deal out of person of color, but her client Gage is white. So that just kind of shows where her head was, right? By the way, I've said it. She is an absolute moron. But at any rate, Jesus Medrano, and I'm only mentioning this because not hardly anybody knows about this, but this occurred in Kenosha, and about a year ago, he went in to rape his minor cousin. I think she was like 15 or 14. He carried a butcher knife in with him because he was afraid that his parents might try to stop him. While he's doing this was in a bunk bed. His other relative was sleeping on top, and his daughter was in the room. So his parents showed up, and he sliced them both to death with his butcher knife. Right. He goes running out of the house. He's covered in blood, and they arrested him. Okay. So he kills his parents with a butcher knife, and he brought the knife with him because he thought that they might try to stop him from raping his minor cousin. And he ends up doing it. He gets a $2.5 million bail. He's a person of color. He's Hispanic, right? He got a $2.5 million bail, and Kimberly Motley thought that was so unfair. I mean,
my God.
Oh yeah. I mean, whatever you want to say about Kyle Rittenhouse, even if you think he's guilty, you can't compare that to what he did.
Yes, absolutely, undeniably. Yeah.
And keep in mind also, part of the bail agreement is drawn up because of the connections to the community. Kyle had been born and raised in that area. He lived there all his life. He had jobs there. Jesus was from Louisiana. So he's a much bigger flight risk. But
Yep.
he still got a $2.5 million bail. But that case is going to be coming up.
100%.
And that's going to be a very interesting one. And then, of course, the case that everybody has forgotten about. And I have to actually look up the guy's name because that's how bad that this has been pushed under the rug, right? So I have to look it up here. Give me one moment.
Actually, can we take just a 5-minute break or 2-minute
sure.
break? Something like that. Yeah, be right back.
Okay. So let's see here. I have to dig in deep. Oh, crud. This article doesn't even mention the guy's name. Well, there's a real shock. But at any rate, this guy, he's black, walked into a bar in Kenosha. Okay. He got into an argument with some dudes in there, went out, got a gun, came back in. Oh, see here. I'm sorry. They basically threw him out. He comes back into the tavern, shoots 6 people, killing 3 of them. Keep in mind, some of the people he killed weren't even involved in the actual argument. So he runs out of the tavern and they catch up to him. So this man shot 6 people, killed 3 of them. He got bail. A lot of people are like, oh, wait a minute, that's not possible. He's black. No, he got bail. Now, keep in mind, he wasn't able to meet bail, but they offered him bail. I still think he's in jail, but he is a mass shooter. That's a real mass shooter there. And people have forgotten about this case completely. Same town, same DA's office are going to be prosecuting this. So in Kenosha, we had Kyle Rittenhouse. We're going to have Dominick Black. We're going to have Chrystul Kizer. Of course, Dominick hasn't hurt anybody, but it's going to be a high-profile case. Chrystul Kizer, Jesus Medrano, and this other person who the media has buried so deeply, I can't even remember his name. Does anybody have it? Yeah. Kenosha is crazy. I don't know what's going on there. But, it's a town of about 100,000. And when I lived in a town of about 100,000, one of those kind of cases would come up maybe every decade. They got like 4 of them running at the same time. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if maybe the tavern by the college. I don't know. Let me hang on a second. They have it in, I'm sure, in this article. It's called the Summers House Tavern. Does that ring a bell to anybody? Let's see if I can find the person. No. Boy, they really have buried this. There's no interest in this case. And I think I know why. Okay, maybe this article will tell me the guy's name.
So here I am.
Oh, you're back, huh? I'm still trying to find this dude's name. The media has completely buried this. How long was it before Kyle Rittenhouse's name was broadcast by everybody?
I think within 24 hours, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, see, I'm reading these articles that are announcing the arrest of the guy, but they don't have his name. Oh, and by the way, right after the actual arrest of Kyle Rittenhouse, they actually broadcast his address. Yeah, his home address.
Say again.
What's that?
Say again. The media broadcasted Kyle's home address.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
I remember seeing it, thinking like, "Wait, they can't do that." Well, technically, I think they can because he's been accused of a capital crime. So I don't know what the law is. They can
Oh,
identify him.
motherfuckers.
Can you imagine? Keep in mind, at that point, I don't think he had even been arrested. I think he was just a suspect. And yeah, they put his name on there. It's like, now, I'm sorry, his address. Now you can't find those videos anymore, but I distinctly remember seeing it.
Was it like a national TV or local TV?
It was like the local news outlet, but it was on YouTube.
Right, but like just the absolute and utter irresponsibility in that, because they don't like. Okay, like first of all, like you serious? You're giving potential vigilantes, like and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like people who would want maybe revenge or other things. Like his address. So and like he has probably family. Like they're putting them in danger, etc. Like holy shit. Wow.
By the way, the name of the tavern shooter, Kenosha Cat, has it as, I know his last name is Vincent. Can you read that? My eyes aren't too good. Rashaya or Rashad Vincent.
What should I read it?
It's Kenosha Cat in the comment section.
Yeah, Rakayo Vincent.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know how much you have to bury a story of a person shooting 6 people, killing 3 of them, where people don't even know the guy's name? I have to actually try to find it. That's Absolutely. How closely they buried it. But now keep in mind, I would like to ask anybody, of what possible useful purpose is it to broadcast the address of a suspect?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the old days, they used to do it all the time. Bank robbery witness, such and such, Charles Johnson, he lives on 1334 Maple Street. They did it all the time back like in the 50s and 60s. Got a lot of them killed because some of them were mob hits. So they had to change the law. The laws are a result of people getting rubbed out because the news agencies gave out their address.
I forget now, just an anecdote. I forget now where it was, and I didn't fact check this. I just basically read it when I was, like I think in elementary school or something like that. I think it was in Somalia when, like the US Special Forces were deployed there, and they were, having some nighttime raid, like breaching some compound, like of militia, and somehow it got leaked to the media, and as the special forces were approaching the compound, like the big rigs, like with the camera, just illuminated them, and the reporters were like, oh, here we are, observing the raid, of the special forces on this very dangerous compound, blah blah blah, and so from stealth operation, and it became just gigantic firefight, so it's probably about the logic of these reporters. And as you said, basically the journalism is kind of like the candy store, of universities and stuff like that, because you're like, holy shit, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing is, and going through all of these people involved in the Kenosha shootings, geez, they have a lot of people there in Kenosha with large criminal backgrounds. I mean, it's just crazy. By the way, one of those is a guy by the name of Maurice J. Freeland, who turns out to be Dropkick Guy, the guy who tried to stomp Kyle's head into another zip code. And I went in at the WCCA, which is the Wisconsin's database for criminal records. Dude, man, that guy has a long, long list. I guess he had an alias of last name of Gist at one point. And so if you want anybody interested, I'm going to probably put out a video on that at some point. But it seems like everybody out to get Kyle that night was a criminal. Gee, who would have thought of the odds of that, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it on one of our last shows that there is some psychological thing when it comes to violent criminals, that if they have a chance for, let's say, righteous violence, even perceived righteous violence, they just jump immediately on that, and there is like examples of this from all over the world. I mentioned the London terrorist attack where men armed with machetes was just chopping people up, and there just so happened to be like criminal, like some basically community help or something like that. Some gathering of basically people on bound, not on bound, on probation, and they were like just violent criminals, and they immediately jumped on the like they to fight these terrorists, So yeah, this must be some. I don't know if it's like the desire of violent people to do violence, and when they have a justification that they like take it like immediately. Maybe like I honestly don't know. So yeah, but I actually wanted to ask Kenosha Cat, Miss, if you are still here, what the hell is going on in Kenosha to a degree? Is it like incredibly like violent and like city rife with crime? Did, for example, some gangs move in, like recently, or what's going on there? Because that's like a lot of murder for such a small town, in my opinion. So yeah, while we waiting like for that, goddamn.
Well, to be honest with you, it's getting a little bit on the late. So we've been at this for quite a while.
Yeah, for 2
and I
hours.
probably do have to get working on some videos. So maybe this is a good time to stop unless you have something else you'd like to bring up.
Yeah, just in like if Miss Cat and like would,
oh, that's right. We're still waiting on her.
But yeah, I actually wanted to show you, but unfortunately, I will probably make a video. I finally found yeah, a lot of crime from Chicago has come up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is it like is it gang related or yeah, is it yeah?
I don't get the impression that there's a large gang presence in Kenosha.
Okay,
none of the people that were involved in any of this stuff were notable gang members. I lived out in California for a short time, and boy, you talk about some heavy gang activity.
Right.
But I don't get the impression that Kenosha has much of a gang presence.
Well, I'm judging this solely from the comments of Judge Schroeder, who was specifically mentioning, like gangs, like on a few occasions. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, another point of hypocrisy on the left there. That well, we should be able to disclose that Kyle was a member of the Proud Boys, but they would have been all over Schroeder not allowing people's gang affiliations to be broadcast.
Yeah.
Right? And Schroeder said, look, when a person is a member of a gang, we don't allow you to mention that in the court unless their presence in the gang had direct connection, right? And liberals and the left would have said, oh, that's great. That's the way it's supposed to be. But then Kyle Rittenhouse is a Proud Boy, and he won't let us tell anybody. It's just hypocrisy is everywhere. Yeah. It's everywhere here.
Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of share with you, but unfortunately the translation doesn't work there properly. I finally found an article from Czech news site about Kyle, because of his that he was acquitted, and where comments are allowed. So yeah, I actually want to make a video, what do Czechs think about that, and you will not be surprised, what also my countrymen think about this, and you will be kind of shocked, in my opinion, how well informed they are in comparison with plenty of your countrymen. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Do you get the impression that most of them were in pro-Kyles?
Yeah, vast majority, definitely.
Well, we should probably contact your Czech countrymen for legal analysis, because we ain't getting it here in this country. I would trust just about anybody over the legal analysis that we got in this country. And I've said this many times in my channels, but these shows like MSNBC and Joy Reid and all that, they want to have legal experts come in. And they want to have legal experts they know are going to voice their wokest kind of ideology. And so you'll notice that almost all of the lawyers that are invited on these shows are civil rights lawyers. They are not gun experts. They are not self-defense experts, even though those are the lawyers that you should have on your show. I mean, if you are really going to be talking about a self-defense trial, why not have self-defense lawyers on? They don't. They bring in civil rights lawyers. And these civil rights lawyers don't have a clue. They have no understanding whatsoever of self-defense laws. They don't know anything about guns, and they certainly don't know anything about Wisconsin statutes. And so you have a bunch of people shooting their mouth off about that which they know nothing about. And it's a serious problem. They led a lot of the hostility towards Kyle, and they didn't understand what they're talking about. And they're going to do the same thing with Dominick. They're going to get on shows. Now, it's not going to be as severe because Dominick is not the celebrity, whatever you want to call him, as Kyle is, but they're going to be doing some illegal analysis here, and it's going to be stupid. It's going to be terrible. I can almost guarantee you that I'm going to have lots of fodder for some of my future shows, listening to them try to stumble around on statute 948.60. It's going to be hilarious. Yeah. But at any rate, I'm kind of getting a little bit winded. I have to go down to the store and get some stuff. Before we depart, how about another encouragement for people? Go and donate to the fund of Dominick Black. He needs the money, and you can make a big difference. $20, $50, whatever you can afford to give. Go in there and do it. Let's help this kid out. He has a career. He's trying to forge ahead. And we think of it this way. Even if you're not necessarily, motivated by Dominick's plight, although you should be, this is a way to attack Binger. You must hate Binger. That should be motivation enough to give money to Dominick Black. Think of it as a way to fend off Thomas Claire Binger. There you go.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's humiliate him some more, because that was quite a humiliation that he received during Kyle's trial. So yeah, let's add some more. So since we are going, I
do want to talk to you after the show for a few minutes. So
yeah, thanks to our audience, whoever is watching. Hello to Kenosha and all over the United States, or even if we have some non-Americans watching, then cheers. Thanks a lot. This was fun, and we'll catch you in the next one. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that you will say goodbye or something like that, Johnny, but yeah, sure.
Are we off?